Imagine stepping into one of the most magnificent palaces ever constructed, a realm defined by opulence, where gilded halls sparkle under the glow of dazzling chandeliers, and sumptuous silk and satin drape every corner. Yet pause for a moment to inhale deeply, and you would be met with an odor so wretched it could turn a bouquet of roses into a wilted heap from 20 paces away. Welcome to the Grand Palace of Versailles in the 17th century, a striking juxtaposition of breathtaking beauty and harsh brutality. Here, elegance mingled with filth, and the royal women, adorned with jewels and titles, were forced to navigate a veritable hygiene nightmare. Today, we will take a deep dive, metaphorically thankfully, into the shockingly unsanitary lives of noblewomen who resided at the height of French royal power. Prepare yourselves as we unveil the 5 most appalling hygiene habits of these royal women, and trust me, you're not ready for what lies ahead. In 17th century France, noblewomen were expected to exude grace, charm, and impeccable fashion. However, when it came to personal hygiene, the expectations took a rather dismal turn. Bathing, the very ritual synonymous with cleanliness today, was often eschewed. The prevailing medical theories of the era posited that warm water was more foe than friend. Physicians warned that it could dangerously open pores, inviting unseen diseases lurking in the air. Compounding this, the influential voice of the church deemed baths as dens of vanity and temptation, leading to a culture that slowly turned away from the cleansing effects of water. Most noblewomen did not enjoy the privilege of private baths or daily showers. In fact, full-body washing was considered unnecessary, risky, or even sinful. Instead, bathing rituals involved the use of damp cloths to wipe down hands and faces, but these cloths were rarely soaked in water. Rather, they were generally moistened with alcohol, vinegar, or even saliva, which was believed to be the best way to clean without exposing the skin too much. When a bath did occur, a rare event, it was typically a communal affair. Families would share a single tub of water sequentially, with men enjoying the privilege of bathing first. By the time a woman had her turn, the water would be lukewarm, clouded, and tinged with the residue of several others, if any water was left at all. The consequences of such hygiene practices extended beyond the bounds of personal discomfort. The stench permeated the very fabric of the palace. Visitors to Versailles frequently commented on the overpowering aroma that wafted through the grand halls, a strange concoction of old perfume, body odor, animal fat, and mildew. The royal elite weren't indifferent to appearances. They simply harbored a vastly different understanding of cleanliness, especially for women, who were expected to embody beauty and sophistication. The contrast was stark. Ladies draped in silk, weighed down by jewels and dusted with fine powders, yet beneath it all lay skin that hadn't seen soap in months. It was a classic case of looking good from a distance but far from good up close. If the avoidance of bathing was shocking, the palace's lack of adequate sanitation facilities might leave you speechless. Versailles, an architectural marvel housing Europe's elite, had alarmingly few proper toilets. The royal court relied instead on chamber pots, portable bowls tucked away under beds, behind curtains, or in closets. When nature called, one had no choice but to use their chamber pot, which would sometimes be tossed out of a window. If the wind proved unfavorable or the street below too crowded, onlookers could be met with unpleasant surprises. In fact, some men did not even bother with pots. They would casually urinate off balconies or relieve themselves in the verdant gardens of the palace. Visitors and foreign dignitaries were utterly appalled by the conditions they witnessed, which were not mere incidents but symptomatic of a systemic issue. The palace corridors became improvised toilets, and women navigating the grand halls had to carefully lift their dresses, not only to showcase their exquisite embroidery but also to avoid stepping in human waste. By 1715, the situation grew so dire that a royal decree mandated cleaning the palace corridors once a week, a far cry from the daily maintenance one might expect. As for personal cleaning after using the toilet, modern conveniences like toilet paper were non-existent. People resorted to scraps of cloth, leaves, straw, or in desperate cases, their own hands. With windows serving as waste disposal and minimal cleaning practices, it's no wonder that parasites and diseases flourished. In a court where fashion reigned supreme, the heights of style were epitomized in the elaborate wigs and hairstyles of royal women. These were not simple hairdos, but rather grand architectural feats that soared above their heads, adorned with ribbons, pearls, miniature gardens, and even tiny ships. These majestic structures were created using wire frames, horsehair, and various padding materials, all molded with copious amounts of pomade made from animal fat, particularly beef tallow. The result? A warm, sticky breeding ground for lice, since women rarely washed their hair or removed those elaborate wigs. Lice infestations were not merely commonplace, they were expected. Court ladies employed long-handled silver lice claws to discreetly scratch their itchy scalps without ruin their carefully crafted appearance. Despite the discomfort, no one dared to forgo the fashion spectacle. In the rigid hierarchy of court life, appearance was tantamount to power, and to be out of fashion or poorly dressed risked significant loss of status. The grand wigs were not just uncomfortable, but perilous. Some were so heavy they caused chronic neck pain, while others risked igniting from nearby candles. For the poorer women, the solution was simple, shaving their heads to avoid pests. But for noble women, their hair served as a crown, even when it concealed a thriving ecosystem underneath. Finally, let us consider one of the most intimate and harrowing aspects of a woman's life: childbirth. For royal women, this experience was not only painful but also exceedingly public. In 17th century France, the delivery of a queen or high-ranking noblewoman was akin to a national spectacle, with the delivery room packed full of courtiers, doctors, priests, and noble observers, all present to witness the event but not to assist. Queen Marie Thérèse's labor resembled a theatrical performance more than a medical procedure. The room was so crowded that the atmosphere became oppressive. This invasive practice stemmed from societal fears that an illegitimate child could be swapped for a legitimate male heir. As a result, mothers endured extreme pain and emotional stress under the watchful eyes of a crowd, with no semblance of privacy or dignity. This public gaze could lead to fainting, crying, and complications, as demonstrated by Marie Antoinette, who famously lost consciousness amid the overwhelming heat and throng of spectators. The process of childbirth bore significant risks due to limited medical knowledge and the absence of antibiotics. Tragically, 1 in 3 children did not survive past the age of 3, and mothers frequently faced peril themselves, often succumbing to infections stemming from unwashed hands and unsterile tools. Thus, while royal births were marked by celebration, they were also overshadowed by fear and immense suffering. In summary, the glittering halls of Versailles concealed grotesque truths. Beneath the lavish gowns, fragrant perfumes, and sparkling jewels, royal women existed in a harsh reality fraught with discomfort and hazards that modern sensibilities would find appalling. They epitomized grace and sophistication in public, yet privately they scratched, suffered, and survived in ways that history often overlooks. The romanticized notion of royal life, filled solely with grand balls and extravagant feasts, is belied by a much grittier and more human narrative. So, as you continue to explore the past, remember, history is not just captivating, at times it is shockingly unsanitary.